Hello, welcome to Tiny Nest. I'm Kiva.
And I'm Jake. This is another episode in our building series,
where we show how we install our surround sound system.
I've had this speaker system still in the box for, let's just say, a long time. I got it on sale and was pretty excited about the potential of how I could set it up in the tiny house. So here's the enormous subwoofer, which by design should fit under the bottom shelf of the shelving unit in the corner that we custom built, obviously. And there's all the speaker cabling goes down there, and there's a dedicated plug for this. So this is something that was planned very early. The types of speaker systems that I'm familiar with, like PC-based speaker systems, the subwoofer is the amp and has all the connections to the other speakers and the connection to the source, in this case the computer. So that's why way back when we were roughing in the electrical and the wiring, everything came to that central spot down in the corner, because this is going to sit on the floor in that corner and do all the connections to the back. So before I tuck this in there and make it even harder to work in that space, I'm going to get the cable that's going to run between this and the computer. I'm going to get that cable run through the conduit that we have in place that goes from that corner over to the computer. You'll have to excuse the mess that is this temporary hookup for the computer. The conduits and several other things that we have planned are meant specifically to clean things up and make it fairly tidy. So you can see this box here. I'll zoom in and show you the conduit that I'm going to use. So there's two conduits in there, and I'm going to use the bottom one. And the cable is going to go through the conduit, goes through the wall, and it's going to spit out into that box, which also has all the cable, the speaker wires already in it. Here's the cable I'm going to use. It's a digital optical cable, and it's 6 feet long, which should be just the right amount to have enough slack on each end, but not a lot, so I'm not dealing with a big coil of excess cabling. And I just bought a really cheap one off Amazon, so I'm going to see if I can just push it through. It does have a pretty rigid end here, so it shouldn't like get twisted or stuck, hopefully. So I'm basically just going to see if I can poke it through and gently push it through until it pokes out into the box on the other end. There we go. It was a little bit shorter than I expected, but this only needs to go to here on the computer. So I think that's going to work out. So I got that in place, and now I can start dealing with some of the speakers. Okay, you can see that black cable is the optical cable, and all these gray ones are the speaker cables. I do have them labeled with Sharpie, and now I'm going to put some cable labels on them as a nicer, more permanent labeling. I'm going to have to trim them down and everything to get them ready to connect to the subwoofer. And strip them and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you right before I put the subwoofer in there. I've got all the speaker wires trimmed down, stripped, labeled, and ready to go. And then of course there's the optical cable also ready to be plugged in. So I'm going to get the subwoofer in here. Alright, I'm in a super awkward position filming this, but as you can see I got the speakers in. They're just those sort of spring-loaded tabs. The red and black color code for positive and negative, and got the optical cable in. And then one other thing I hadn't talked about was the control console, which is just like the volume and input selector thing. So that's got a cable that I've passed down in behind the shelving. I'm mounting the speakers, and I got these universal speaker mounts that came in a pack of 2, and they look like this, and so they can be just loosened by hand and then swiveled around. And there's a little set screw here that loosens a little slide thing. So this is what actually gets mounted to the wall, say like that, and then this slides in, screw goes in. I'm going to do it in this orientation because I don't have room to slide it down from above like this. So that'll work fine though. It's got it's kind of a slot and a regular hole. And so what I've found is that I need to actually widen the hole. And because of the orientation, I'm going to use the hole, not the slot. So basically just slice out a little bit of plastic there. And that allows me to use my 1/4 inch screw, which I cut down so that it was the right length, because it can only screw so far into the speaker. So, get this open. So here's one of the speakers. There's a threaded spot here, and like I said, the screw can only go in so far before it bottoms out. So I wanted to make sure that I was tightening against this, not tightening against the bottom of this threaded hole. And I need to orient the mount like this so that I have access to the wiring. So I've sort of looked at this and figured it all out. Another thing I want to do is I've got these little felt bits that I've cut out of a pad that's meant for the bottom of furniture feet, and I'm putting them on the mounts so that there isn't there isn't a hard surface that it's against. It'll absorb any vibration so that hopefully the speaker won't loosen off the screw or rattle or anything like that. And the other little thing I'm doing is I found that once I had this threaded in, because the felt is smooth, it would easily pivot, and I want it to stay, in the right orientation. So I've got a little double-sided tape that I just put down like that, and that provides some friction, because obviously this is sticky on the back, so it provides friction against the surface so that it's resistance to rotating out of place. Okay, so it's pretty secure, and the orientation of the writing is like that, and also that matches with how I'm going to go about this, being able to slide it up like that. So it's going to be like this, and now what I'm going to do is basically hold it up, move it around until I feel like it's in a good spot, sort of roughly figure out where this mount needs to go. Then I'll screw the mount down, get this into place, lock this into place, remove it, and then deal with the wiring so that it's 100% done. Once the wiring's kind of tucked away, all I have to do then is slide it back and put the little set screw back in to secure this to this, and then it'll be done. So I've done one using this whole method and it worked out, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do it again. Hopefully the camera will be able to pick up what I'm doing and I won't be in the way the whole time. It's a little bit of a tight spot here, but my plan is trying to cover, where the wire comes out, but there's only so much I can do, so I'll just tuck it up in behind when I'm done. But I found on the other side that screwing into this joist rather than through the wall seemed to work out pretty well. So I put it like that and basically have it angled down like that. So I think that's gonna work equally well, and then they'll both be the same, so that's good. And so all I need to do is get this bracket thing in about here. Now actually, I can see an issue that's gonna happen here that's different from the other side, is that this panel is like an 1/8, 3/16 thick. So this face is proud of this face. And if I put this bracket thing, I need to get at this screw, but it's going to be obstructed by the panel. So I'm going to see if I can stand this off. I'll see if I can find some washers or something maybe that I can stand it off so that I won't have that problem. Well, good fortune smiles upon me this day, for I have found these little plastic washer things. This is slightly thicker than the panel, and I think these are actually from the TV mount. They're like little spacer things. So glad I kept those for a day like this. We'll see if I can't make this happen. So the other one was about, let's go right there. Oh. Okay, that looks good. Now let's see if this works. Just enough space. Works out perfectly. Now I'm just getting this tiny little set screw into place. Yeah, I think this angle is pretty much right, so I'm gonna tighten the little thumb thing that locks the position. So I'm gonna leave, as I have been doing elsewhere, a coil just in case I ever need to change this or do anything to it really. So I'll leave a little coil, about that much, and then one about to here. Okay, so this position is locked. Just gonna make sure it's nice and tight with the little tightener here. So that's good. And now all I need to do is slide that back into place when I'm ready. And I've got the wire stripped to where I need it, so I'm just gonna get it coiled up, get it stripped on the last little bit here. Obviously after I put this up, I'm not going to be able to access the wiring back here. So I'm going to put that in first. That's the whole point of this whole procedure. Okay, those are in there nice and tight. So now I'm going to just see if I can get the wires to tuck nicely out of the way as this goes on. Can't really see what I'm doing. There we go. I know my arm is probably in the way, but just getting the set screw in. And there we go. Wire's tucked away. You can only really see it if you're looking for it, so I think that's good. And pretty much just gonna follow that same procedure to finish the two front speakers off. So far I've just had the speakers hooked up temporarily sitting on the shelf, as you can see. But I'm going to probably just follow the same style of mounting it to the joist that I've been doing so far, like that. I might, well, we'll see. I might try to get it into the ceiling, but I have a feeling it'll just work out better to do them all the same. In the past, when I've had a 5-speaker setup, I've often had the center speaker and sometimes even the side speakers like just sitting on top of my desk, and I've basically decided that I don't like that. It's kind of cluttered, like it gets in the way. I knock them around and stuff very easily. So with this having all the side speakers mounted properly, the only one to deal with is the center one, and I wanted to keep it away from being up on top of the desk or interfering with the TV sliding up and down in some way. So I'm going to mount it underneath the desk, and I have just took some scrap pieces of wood and made a little mount thing here. So here's the center speaker, and it's got the threaded hole and then the connections for the speaker cabling. So to mount it nice and secure, I've got a hole drilled through for the screw, and then I've hole sawed out so I have access to the connections, and then basically keeping the wood on either side like this means that it'll be nice and secure, and then I'll just mount it underneath like that. And since the desk has just a cloth sort of cover, it doesn't matter what this looks like, you won't see it, but the cloth shouldn't impede the sound, so it should work out pretty well. So I've also got some holes pre-drilled and the screws ready to go, so I can just mount this underneath and then deal with all this and get the wire connected, which I've already run, and basically just run underneath the desk so it'll work out. I also put a couple of pieces of felt on here where the actual case of the speaker is going to make contact, so that there's no chance of it rattling like hard material against hard material. Now before I get too far, I'm going to put my seat back into place and sit here and make sure I'm not going to bang it with my knee. I think that'll be good. I'm purposely leaving a little slack here so that if I ever did need to move it or change how this is wired, we got a little bit to work with. So I'm gonna zip tie a little bundle like that up, and then I got enough to get this in, and that should be that. Yeah, the speakers work. They get pretty loud. Here's a quick rundown of how all the speakers turned out in the space, and just to show relatively where we are, there's the couch and the nerd station. I'm just gonna step forward and stand in front of the nerd station, which is currently in a lowered position. So we've got the front right speaker up there, and I'll just shine a little light on it to show that I hang my wireless headset off of it when it's not in use, and that works nicely because the charger is just plugged into the cubby in behind there. So I just connect the charger and hang it off right there. And then we've got the front left speaker, rear left, and rear right up in there. And then we've got underneath the desk this guy. So I'll just shine a little light in there as well. And so that worked out really good because you can see that with the height that I sort of tend to sit on this stool, like the height that I set the stool to, it stows perfectly under here and does not interfere with that speaker. So that worked out really well. Also, you might notice that like hinge thing there, it's just a weight to balance out the desk spring, because even with all my stuff on it, the desk is sort of expecting to have like a whole computer and like a heavy monitor and stuff on it, but because I have none of that, I just have basically my keyboard, mouse, and the only thing that's heavy is the laptop. it tends to spring up really intensely. So anyway, I just noticed that you'll see that in the shot, so I wanted to explain what the heck that's all about. And hey, while I'm under here, you might have noticed this. This is just like a USB 3 hub thing, and it's also got an SD card reader on the back, which I mounted to the underside of the desk. And I got my wireless dongle for my Steam controller and headset in there. And it's just so that from a seated or standing position at the desk, I can just reach in and like put an SD card in or whatever without having to get on my hands and knees to get down to my tower. But anyway, this is unrelated to speakers, just pointing it out. And I will do a full kind of techie tour of like all the stuff I've got interconnected and my whole setup in a future video.
Oh, and no offense, but their performances were terrible.
Oh, we got ourselves a weapon here, boys. Someone else in here. Whoa, yeah, boy! Oh, UMP. 4x scope. Police vest, level 2 bag, level 2 helm, ammo. We got this, Don't worry. Don't even worry about it. What the shit? Where is this coming from? Ah!
Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and turn on email notifications so you never miss a video. You can also find extra resources in the description below.
We spend countless hours making these videos for YouTube. So if you appreciate our work, take 3 minutes to watch the video in the top left tile to learn some ways that you can support us for free.
We'd really appreciate it.